Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. Hope you're having a great day as we continue to celebrate all the amazing people who are working across the state of Mississippi to make this such a great place to live, work, and play. Hey, listen, I say this a lot, but I just want to thank you for the feedback. We get so much positive feedback, great ideas along the way. One of the things we floated out there about a week ago was let us know where we can find great fried chicken in coastal Mississippi. And we got some great ideas, some that you would have thought about and some I've never heard of, literally holes in the wall. But if you didn't weigh in about that and you have an idea about where some great fried chicken is in coastal Mississippi, go to the Ricky Matthews Facebook page or to the SuperTalk Gulf Coast Facebook page and let us know. We're gonna be narrowing it down to about 3 to 5, and then we're going to go out and do a little bit of taste testing, and we'll do it based on your input. But for the final selection for that will be me, and I look forward to doing that. It's going to be a fun little journey. We've got some ideas on doing some other stuff in the future, like pizza, for example. Maybe boiled crawfish, and the list goes on and on. But we'll have some fun with this as we go forward. I appreciate the suggestion by one of our listeners to do that. Okay, so without any further ado, let's shift gears and move over to Clay Williams. He's the executive director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport Authority, and someone I really enjoy checking in with from time to time. Clay, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Ricky. Thanks for having me on.
It's good to see you. We got a lot to talk about. I can't wait to find out the latest at the airport. But something happened last week. We had Hurricane Francine that came through, and it disrupted things to some extent there. You guys are, very resilient when it comes to that. But, unfortunately, also 9/11 observance was kind of happening at the same time. Right. And, 9/11 had such a dramatic impact on airports across the United States. It's something I bet you guys, when you get together professionally, you look back on and hope we never have to go through anything like that again. But what immediately comes to mind, besides the obvious of what happened on that day, but as it relates to how it impacted the airport, how do you reflect on it?
Well, Ricky, it's a time to reflect and remember those that lost their lives that day. It changed this industry dramatically from a security standpoint. TSA, Transportation Security Administration, was formed at that time, and it really has transformed the industry in terms of what you can take on an airplane, how much longer it takes for someone to get to an airport. You'll recall at the time when people your family or your loved ones could go down to the gate with you and see you off on the flight. Well, just changes like that occurred. But safety and security is front of mind, and the men and women at TSA, not only at Gulfport-Biloxi, but across the country, work diligently with that at the forefront, and they do a great job for us. 9/11 too, Ricky, you know my background. I actually lived in Washington, D.C. at the time and was working on Capitol Hill. I happened to be, at the particular time, Chip Pickering's former congressman, his legislative director, and I had gone to work that morning, and a beautiful day, just a normal day. And when I got there, I actually had a meeting with a lobbyist, governmental affairs representative from Northwest Airlines. And my phone at my desk was ringing that morning. It was my mother calling from the Mississippi Gulf Coast, asking me, had I seen that a plane had hit the First World Trade Tower. And I had not seen it yet because I had been driving in traffic, as you usually do in the nation's capital, into work that morning. And when I got there, I did turn on the TV, and I saw that it was not what I initially thought. And most of us, I think, in the office thought it was a small little general aviation aircraft, somebody that might not have been an experienced pilot. That was the initial reaction that many of us had. But as that morning went along, we saw what had happened. I walked into that meeting, and when I walked into that meeting with this airline representative at the time, we had, you had pagers and beepers at the time, and it was going off saying that flights were about to be grounded. One of our colleagues that worked with us there in the office actually was stuck in traffic on I-395. They're going in from Virginia to D.C., saw the plane fly above the interstate and hit into the Pentagon. We all left the building that morning, seeing smoke billowing out of the Pentagon, and really was a surreal feeling, just trying to not only wrap our minds around what was going on, but what to do next. And it was a eerily quiet feeling in a city of that size, and never will forget it. Really, again, not only did it transform lives of the thousands that we lost on that day, but also transform this industry with great significance.
Yes, it's interesting to see where you were at that time in Washington and where you are today, right, and the relationship between what you experienced then and what you experience today, right, and how it really changed our world. I had been publisher just a few weeks at the Sun-Herald, and we were having a community leaders reception in honor of my becoming the publisher of the newspaper. Just before the meeting started, the first plane had flown in, yeah, and I asked Stan and the team to pull the TV over and turn it on. And we sort of observed what was happening, and we kind of left it in the background. And as I was speaking to the group, because we were obviously the whole reason for having this reception was already muted. And then as I'm literally speaking, Clay, the second airplane flies into the second building. Right. And I said to this group of community leaders, many of them will never forget where they were when that happened. And I said, look, life as we knew it will never be the same again. And Stan Tyner, we broke the meeting up and said, obviously we won't continue this reception. Stan Tyner and I went downstairs and started the process to publish a special edition of the Sun-Herald around these events. As time would go on, I'll leave the Sun-Herald, go to work for Condé Nast, for Advanced Condé Nast, mm-hmm, and later in my career, first we were at Times Square when I would go up there for board meetings, but then the anchor tenant in the new One World Trade Center building is Advanced Condé Nast, the company that I work for. Okay. And when we were in board meetings, we would when you looked out the window at board meetings, you're overlooking the footprint of the North and the South Towers. And it just always seems surreal to me because I can never forget where I was when it happened. Mm-hmm. And then to be in there, be in that building so many years later, so many surreal experiences for me as it relates to all that. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Same way. It's just one of those that it never really leaves you. And you know kind of where you were, what happened, the magnitude of it. Going to New York since and having visited the memorial there is really makes an impression. And I, have friends that lived in New York at the time, and they can recount their stories. Same thing, it's one of those, just like other significant historical events, that people don't forget where they were and what was happening at the particular time. But it has, it really, though, for this industry, it changed the way that the government looked at security and safety. It changed the way airlines and their business model, how it works, and airports as well. So all of the regulatory requirements that have been in place since have really taken a much harder look at security and how we do it at airports.
Yeah, I've been pleased to watch the iterations of that. I have a son who works at Price Waterhouse in New York, and he flies. He's working on directly with the CEO of the company, and he is flying internationally, about to head to Munich. But to see the ease of how it works for him, and then as my family recently just went out west, and we all got TSA check capabilities, and it's just so much smoother. But you see the use of technology and the way you guys are able to do the background checks or whatever it is you do, mm-hmm, and to be able to make it easier for people. We've adjusted pretty well, and it's a very safe system now, isn't it?
Yes, and people, as you say, they have adjusted. They know what the expectations are. I mean, you've got everything now from biometric screening capability and the programs that you referenced, Ricky. There, you've got TSA pre-check. You have global entry that can do preliminary vetting of individuals and looking at backgrounds of those that are flying, and again, creates a convenient experience for those that have access to that program. But again, it's just an extra layer of security that the Transportation Security Administration has implemented.
Yeah, I think it's terrific the way that's worked. But well, I was right when I said life as we knew it will never be the same again.
Completely changed.
When we come back on the other side with our friend Clay Williams from the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport Authority, we'll chat a little bit about how quickly they kind of recover from the Francine, whatever impact that was, and then we'll get the latest. A lot of good news coming from the airport these days. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. We're visiting with the Executive Director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport Authority, Clay Williams. And we're going to talk about things like, for example, Sun Country Airlines seasonal service to Minneapolis, St. Paul's back up, and there's other good news from the other airlines, and we'll do an assessment of just how's the traffic going, and so we'll talk about all those things here in just a second. But we talked a little bit about 9/11 kind of hitting it with Francine, kind of muted observance around 9/11. We wanted to reflect a little bit about that, and we did. And as it relates to Francine, you have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. I guess in the scheme of things, coastal Mississippi fared extraordinarily well, but there's still disruption and recovery that has to occur at the airport as a result of an event like that, isn't there?
There always is. There's an advanced planning effort that goes into place anytime you have a storm, whether it be tropical storm or hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. And so we coordinate with all of our business partners here, everyone from the airlines to air traffic control to all the various tenants that do business here at the airport, making sure that they're ready and that they're prepared dependent upon what may occur. We were very, very fortunate, as you mentioned, Ricky, with Francine, that South Mississippi did not sustain any significant damage. But there's always a disruption when something occurs. We had approximately, if you look at departures and arrivals, 15 flights that were canceled. So that was on both September 11th and 12th with the oncoming of Francine. But, those individuals are rebooked and they continue on with their travel plans from there. But again, it's something that everybody has to bear in mind. And again, safety is of the utmost importance. You and I were visiting briefly before the show. You have another storm that's potentially could have some impact. So again, we're going to be mindful of that. Watch it and see what steps need to be taken in advance and making sure that the right preparations are in place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a busy time of the year, and we knew it was going to be kind of a back-end loaded hurricane season based on what we've experienced, and everyone's watching down in the Caribbean now to see if what the experts think could form, and maybe eventually it goes out into the Atlantic, or maybe it goes into the Gulf of Mexico, like a lot of the models are saying. But we're used to this drill, and we prepare accordingly. One thing I will note, though, with Francine in particular, is after kind of this lull in the season, it's exhausting. It's just exhausting because you're watching it days ahead of time. And then you're having to prepare. Everybody's got to prepare, and it's disruptive in the school systems. It's just disruptive. And then for people like me who live on the water, you got debris to clean up, which thank God it wasn't as bad as it normally is. Right. But still, you got to clean up, and you come out of it just tired. And a reminder of why even when things go well, it's exhausting. I mean, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, there's always stress associated with it, and you realize it on the back end. And you mentioned people are tired because there's uncertainty with it. You never know. And any time you've got a storm in the Gulf, it could have a last minute shift and it could come your direction. And so the most important thing to do is just be prepared, be ready for it. We can be very thankful again with Francine that we didn't have any major difficulty. But again, it does require effort. People at their houses, people that at any type of business, and the same holds true for an airport.
Really does. Listen, I was pleased to see you recognize Donna Cantrell, a 15-year employee of Delta. Yeah. Over the years, I can name you a bunch of times where Donna has helped my family and me through sort of hairy moments, getting there. And I'll give you an example. Ann and I got to the airport, headed eventually to Amsterdam and then on to Croatia. And almost immediately there was a problem in connection. Right. And Donna helped us through that. Now, look, we didn't get any sleep for like 24 hours, but we were thrilled to be in Amsterdam when we got there. But Donna helped work through that. She's done that for a lot of people over a long period of time. I mean, personal names with regular flyers, et cetera. Hate to see Donna retiring, to be honest with you.
We do too, Ricky. Donna has been a tremendous asset for Delta Airlines here at the airport. Not only Donna, but all the frontline employees who work for the air carriers here. They're great. They're always trying to do their best to accommodate passengers. And I mentioned to Donna when she told me that she was retiring, I said, you really in that position with you being a frontline agent for Delta, you get both the good and the bad. So Donna, and her associates and colleagues, they get to see people on happy occasions when they're going on vacation or they're going to a wedding. They also get to see people that are traveling for funerals. They're hit when you have a computer glitch like the CrowdStrike situation that we had about a month ago. They're trying to sort through that. And so they have a lot of patience. They have a lot of grace. And they're trying to represent this community as a whole. And she's done a great job over the last 15 years. Delta elevated her to a red coat. So I don't know if you noticed when you would see Donna, she was in a red coat, what the outfit that they wear, and that's their next level of customer service, kind of their top line customer service agent. And so proud of the work that she's done here and her colleagues. And again, she'll be missed with her retirement.
Yeah, it's a tough job. And for, like in my career, I probably, the last time I checked, I had flown somewhere in the neighborhood of 700,000 frequent flyer miles. So almost, getting close to that 1 million mile. So I've seen it all. I've seen what agents have to deal with. And what I came to appreciate kind of early in my flying career was it doesn't really do any good to give the agents a tough time, because oftentimes, I would say 99% of the times, it's totally beyond their control. But people try to hold them accountable. And you got to be a special person to take some of what is given toward them at times. And that's what you're talking about. It can be a tough job, can't it?
It can. They can't control the weather. Oftentimes it's weather that's causing delays or potential cancellations. And the folks that are there at the ticket counters trying to make sure that everybody has an enjoyable experience, they're working through it as best they can. And they do a great job in trying to make sure that people get rebooked and accommodated so they can ultimately make their travel plans.
Listen, you and I have chatted about this before, but, over in New Orleans, you got a new airport. I continue to hear, some complaints about how rental car services work and how all this stuff ties together. I would say it's been sort of a rocky startup for them, and they're not even in the startup mode anymore. But my point to people who are here, I'll say these things, you can echo them if you choose, but my point is, why even drive to New Orleans when you can fly out of Gulfport? Why fly to Mobile when you can fly out of Gulfport? You may find that sometimes the price is very competitive, but even if it's not, you have to take into account the time, your time, the gasoline, the incredible cost of parking there. Again, there's a lot of logistic issues still over there. You don't have those issues if you fly to Gulfport. How often do you have these conversations with people, Clay?
Have them quite often. Anytime I speak to a civic group or some other venue, I'm basically talking about weighing the cost of travel. What does it really cost you by the time all those things you mentioned, Ricky, your gas, your wear and tear on your car, your parking costs, are you really saving any money? When we look at our average price of airfare on an advance booking for the last calendar year, there was an $85 on average differential. Well, between New Orleans and Gulfport-Biloxi. And so by the time that you compare those variables that you mentioned, you really haven't realized any savings. The other thing we like to hit upon too is you hear chambers of commerce talk all the time about shop local, and you have these shop locals, dine local campaigns. Well, we like to talk about flying local because this airport employs 1,300 of our fellow South Mississippi residents. And so if you look at the military side of the airfield, Army Guard, Air Guard, plus the commercial side of the operation, it's approximately 1,300 people that are employed by the organization. And we have, and people don't realize this oftentimes, the airport has a $300 million annual economic impact on the local economy. So anytime someone flies from an out-of-state airport, which again, people have options, they're going to choose, they're going to look, and we certainly appreciate and understand that. But anytime that they do, it does detract somewhat from those elements that I'm talking about, that economic impact and that employment base. So again, we strive very hard to make sure that it's an easy and convenient facility to use, make sure that we have good connectivity so people can fly through the regional hubs, whether it be Houston, Dallas, Charlotte, Atlanta, connect to go anywhere in the world, and also have some low-cost offerings so people can take their family on trips.
And it really is. It really is awesome. We will pick Gulfport 9.9 times out of 10. The only time we would not do that is if we just didn't have another option. Parking is amazing because you can get it. You never had trouble finding a parking spot, and you just walk straight to your gate. It's just pretty amazing. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll continue our conversation with Clay Williams. We'll see you after this. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I love visiting my friend Clay Williams, the Executive Director for the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport Authority. And it's always cool. We're going to get into some numbers here in just a second. But this point about fly local, just as we would talk about shopping local, is incredibly important because you think about this region as an economic engine, not just because of the manufacturing and industrial and business base that exists here, but also the hospitality side of it. And you can never mention those two aspects of it and not also mention the military side of it, how important that is. So, and then, of course, as it relates to the hospitality side, you've got these huge charter airline services that the casinos are doing. So when you wrap all that up, it's a really diversified business model for the airport. But when you think about communities that are very successful, having a thriving airport, having thriving rail and interstate highways, having a wide range of amenities for people to be able to enjoy, having a convention center, having a thriving airport. All of these elements sort of fit together to make coastal Mississippi successful. So everybody's got a role in helping kind of move that along and make it successful. But it's true. It's a really important piece of the economic engine that drives coastal Mississippi, and we can never sort of glaze over that. That's so important, isn't it, Clay?
It drives tourism here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and it drives economic development, whether it be present or future. You've got to have strong intermodal connectivity. You mentioned rail, you mentioned the Port of Gulfport, our interstate highways, Port of Pascagoula, and then also the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport. People have to be able to travel conveniently for business and for leisure. You and I have talked in the past, the two major drivers in the coast economy that drive traffic here at this airport. You've got tourism, which is supported abundantly by the casino gaming industry. I've mentioned before, we have charter programs offered by both Beau Rivage Resort and Casino as well as Harrah's Gulf Coast. That's approximately 25% of the air service here at the airport. Also the military, Keesler Air Force Base, Naval Construction Battalion, You look at all the various federal agencies at Stennis Space Center and Huntington Ingalls, shipbuilding, and other defense contractors here in this market drive the business and industry travel here at Gulfport-Biloxi.
Yeah, when I speak to Brandon Dardeau, of course, from the Beau Rivage, he really sees the relationship with the airport as a competitive advantage. And then, of course, Jonathan at Harris, they feel very strongly about that as well. So, in fact, I got to get Jonathan back on. I've had Brandon on recently, and it's time to check back in with Jonathan. But they see that as being a really important part of their business model. But, that's the big side of it, the not so big side of it, but it adds up to be a very big side of it is what each of us as citizens of coastal Mississippi contribute. And that's why we should always work harder to pick Gulfport first. I mean, that couldn't be more important. Listen, Sun Country Airlines is doing their thing again. Breeze is continuing to work to be low-cost providers. Want to get into some of that. But before we do that, kind of give me the numbers. How are the numbers looking on a year-to-year basis?
Sure. If we look, let's just look at the month-over-month comparison first. If you're comparing August of 24 versus August of 23, we're up 11%. So really excited about that because August can be a slower month with people going back to school and families trying to get situated with new routines. But 11% on the month-over-month comparison, August 24 versus 23. Very excited about that. Year to date. Through the month of August, we're up 13% here at Gulfport-Biloxi. So, special thanks to those that are choosing their local airport and flying with the one of the 6 carriers that we have. You mentioned some of the newer offerings. Sun Country Airlines they fly charters on behalf of the gaming industry, but they also do scheduled service to Minneapolis-St. Paul. That's been running since about 2015 now. And they're flying, they just restarted from Minneapolis this past Thursday, September the 12th. And so that'll run up until about Thanksgiving. Great inbound service for us, but also, as I've mentioned prior, if anybody wants to go up to the land of 10,000 lakes with the beautiful fall foliage and cooler temperatures, this is a good time to go. So excited to have that. Breeze Airways, which is an airline that's growing by leaps and bounds across the United States. They actually started flying Gulfport-Biloxi in January of 2024. They're flying Las Vegas and Tampa on Fridays and Mondays. Really good offerings for us. I think, Tampa is a great inbound market with the retiree demographic that wants to come here to play golf and go to the beaches and enjoy our seafood and gaming. And also it's a great place for our residents to visit. But Las Vegas is really proven to be some good two-way traffic. People from here want to go to Las Vegas. You saw where LSU played their first football game of the season at Allegiant Stadium out in Vegas when they were playing Southern Cal. So you had a lot of people that had an interest in going out there, and you've got a number of conventions that are driving people out to Vegas, plus the casino connectivity with some of our local resorts here that have broad nationwide databases bringing in people from Vegas. So really excited about that. And then we've seen American add with greater consistency, the third trip a day to Charlotte. So you now have the 3 a day to Charlotte. You've got 3 to Dallas. Your service to Houston from United, and then Delta flying to Atlanta. So really good connectivity there. Allegiant Air just concluded their summer season to Orlando, Sanford. They were flying May through about middle of August. So they're in that number as well that I mentioned in terms of what we're seeing traffic-wise. So really excited about that, and look forward to the fall and to the holiday season.
I mentioned this to you, I think, the last time we talked, but Ann's brother, Mark Bahanovich, and his wife live in Tampa, and his business was in Orlando. And he recently sold his business and now is semi-retired. They actually still own a restaurant in Nashville called Candy Fork. It's across from Opryland, and his son Dane runs it. But they love Breeze. They absolutely love it because they bought a second home here in coastal Mississippi, so they're spending more time here than they did before. But he's fascinated with this. You and I have talked about this unique business model, but this new these new airplanes and not building a new airline on old airplanes, but building a new airline on new airplanes. Yep. And those markets that are not typically significantly served. It's been a great business model for them, hasn't it?
It has, and we're excited that of the size airplane that they fly. So they have 137 seats, which is for our size market, coastal community of about 400,000 people. It makes it a little bit easier to fill than a large 186 seat Boeing 737 that's coming in here. So we like the size. We like their business model in terms of the 2 times a week flying that they're doing. Fridays and Mondays are good days of the week for Tampa and Las Vegas. And so we're hopeful that they'll continue to grow, maybe add an additional market here at some point. But no, we think that's good. When you look at airlines and the equipment that they're flying, only 13% of the U.S. airline fleet now are regional jets. And when I say regional jets, those are your 76-seat and under aircraft that are flying. So the airlines are going to larger aircraft, whether it be an Airbus product, a Boeing product. They're enlarging what they're flying on all fronts. And so it's important for us, and I really appreciate your saying it, people to fly their local airport, book the seats out of here, because then, one, we're filling the larger aircraft that are coming in, and we'll have more options and opportunity. But with Breeze, again, that 137-seat Airbus 220 that they're building over in Mobile is really a good, we feel like a good size airplane for us.
It really is. I mean, the days of these little bitty, what we used to call puddle jumpers, are numbered. The bigger, nicer jets, even for these like short flights, it's really, really cool that we're able to do that. Breeze, man, when you talk to Breeze, are they satisfied? Are they happy with how things are going with Gulfport-Biloxi Airport?
They have been thus far. I mean, they've seen good initial growth. They've been in the market now for 9 months. What's really interesting about Breeze and their business model is, they also have a little bit of pass-through traffic coming here. So people from Tampa can actually fly out to Las Vegas with one stop in Gulfport-Biloxi. And so that's proven to be an easy route for some Floridians to take. And so I think you combine what we're seeing from just a local origination and destination passenger, plus some of the Breeze, as they call them, breeze through connectivity. I think they like what they've seen. They've extended the schedule. When they initially came in, they were going to operate January through September and kind of see how it works. And they've extended the schedule out into the spring now. So we're pleased with that and excited. And again, hopefully they'll continue to do that, maybe even look at other alternatives for us.
Well, it's been terrific catching up with Clay. We're going to have one more final segment when we come back on the other side, and we'll button up some loose ends on some other topics. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show. It's great to hear the numbers from the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport as we continue our conversation with Clay Williams, the executive director there from the Citizens Bank studio. But I think you said 17%. That's beautiful to hear those kind of numbers.
13% year to date, and then through August, and then month over month, August 24 versus 23, 11%. So
yeah,
again, really
so I said 17, meant 13. Thank you for correcting me. But still, when you have year-over-year numbers like that, there were so many. We go back to to 2020 and the pandemic and how you guys were hit, and thank God for the diversification that existed there. Certain segments came back faster than other segments, but you look back on that, it's almost like a fog, isn't it?
Well, it certainly was a fog when it was occurring, and the airline industry, other than 9/11, which you and I talked about, of 2001, they had never seen the likes of a COVID-19 pandemic and the dramatic impact it had. We fell in traffic, over 50%, and we've talked about that a little bit before. But we rebounded nicely because of our gaming industry. They stayed open, remained open, and they started charters back in July of 2020, and then the military really sustained us. They never stopped traveling during that period, and so while we did see a drop, it was not quite as precipitous as other markets who were solely reliant upon business travelers.
Yeah, you kind of alluded to this just a few minutes ago, but when people think about the airport, they think traditionally about the airport where you can go catch a flight, but then you've got the relationship that you have with the National Guard, and then the business part of what you do. I mean, the hotels and other business buildings that are on your property. Millionaire across the way there. I flew out of Millionaire with a friend not too long ago, and I guess it seems like every time I fly to Millionaire, I have the same observation, and it's kind of a hustle and bustle going on over there. A lot more private planes, a lot more private jets in and out of there. That's a thriving part of the overall situation there, isn't it?
Yeah, Millionaire is a tremendous business partner of the airport. They do all of the fueling for the airport and the airfield. So not only are they fueling your smaller general aviation aircraft, your corporate aircraft, they're also fueling commercial airliners that are coming and going. They do fuel some transient military aircraft that are coming and going from this market, and so they're integral to what we're doing here. And it is a thriving enterprise that they have, and so look forward to partnering with them and seeing them continue to grow. They provide some maintenance for smaller aircraft here at the airport, and they make a great first impression. Ricky, you mentioned having flown from the facility. You've been in it before. We always want to put our best foot forward on the commercial side and make sure that we're presentable and that things are in tip-top shape. Our maintenance team and our folks do a tremendous job in ensuring that we do that on the commercial side. But Millionaire does the same. It's a great looking facility. It's nice. It's convenient. And when someone comes to South Mississippi for the first time, that's what they're seeing. So we want to make sure that it's top notch.
Yeah, I remember when that partnership was, I would say maybe the enhancement of that partnership was announced and the building over there was going to be built. If you're at the current airport, it's literally across the way from there, and you get there literally from the other direction coming in. But I had additional responsibilities for newspapers in Georgia and Florida and here. When I worked for Knight Ridder. And so, of course, Knight Ridder at the time had two really nice airplanes. And so anyway, I had the experience of flying into those private scenarios in communities really all over the United States. And it was, it was clear that we needed that here, not just because of the casinos, just we needed that. And it's another entry point, as you pointed out, into coastal Mississippi that makes a first impression. And they certainly pulled that off, didn't they?
They did. And what the nice benefit of having Millionaire located where they are, they're adjacent to the air traffic control tower. They're located along John Hill Boulevard there, opposite the terminal building across the airfield. At one time, up until Hurricane Katrina, the general aviation and the fixed-based operator operations were all on the military side of the airfield. That wasn't a great arrangement because you had a commercial operation in the middle of a military footprint, and from force protection and just other military synergy, from a military synergy standpoint, that needed to be moved. So when you look at Katrina and some of the silver linings that we saw after the hurricane, the ability to actually move general aviation and the FBO from the military side of the field over to where its current day location is, that was really a great situation for all involved. So that helped not only our partners at the Combat Readiness Training Center, it also helps just from a convenience standpoint for those that are coming and going.
Yeah, when you drive through that section there where the military is located, well, that area just expanded, and it's a hell of a footprint now. So for people who aren't aware, this is kind of part of the responsibility that Clay has and working with that really critical partner there at the airport. Listen, we're out of time for the day, but as usual, I really enjoyed catching up with you, my friend.
Always, Ricky. I appreciate your inviting me, and it's good to have the conversation.
It is. This has been Clay Williams from the Gulfport-Biloxi International Airport Authority. Listen, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.